The boarding gate hummed with the usual chaos of travelers. Families clutched carry-ons. Business travelers tapped phones. Flight attendants smiled their practice smiles. I stood near the back of the line, ticket in hand. Row 14, seat A. Nothing fancy. Just a window seat on a Tuesday afternoon flight from Dallas to Phoenix. I wore old jeans, a faded flannel shirt, scuffed boots that had seen better years. My ball cap was worn at the edges. Nobody looked twice at me. That's how I liked it. The line moved forward slowly. I watched people shuffle onto the plane, some eager, some tired, some already annoyed before takeoff. I reached the gate agent. She scanned my ticket without looking up. "Enjoy your flight, sir." I nodded and stepped onto the jet bridge. The plane was a 737, standard layout, nothing special. I'd flown this route 100 times, maybe more. I walked down the narrow aisle, found row 14. My seat. Except someone was already sitting in it. A man, mid-30s, expensive suit, silk tie, gold watch that caught the overhead lights. His cologne filled the small space around him. He had his laptop open on the tray table, earbuds in, completely at ease. I stopped beside the row. "Excuse me," I said quietly. "I think you're in my seat." He didn't look up. I waited. Still nothing. "Sir," I said a bit louder, "that's my seat, 14A. He pulled out one earbud, glanced at me with the kind of look you'd give a fly buzzing near your face. "I need the window," he said flatly. "You can take the middle, no big deal." I paid for the window seat. He sighed like I'd just asked him to explain quantum physics to a child. "Listen, old man, I've got an important presentation to finish. I need the window for the light and the space. You look retired. What does it matter to you?" His tone wasn't just rude. It was dismissive, like I didn't deserve consideration. I felt something tighten in my chest, not anger, something older than that. "I'd appreciate it if you moved to your assigned seat," I said calmly. He laughed, actually laughed. "Or what, you'll complain. Go ahead, the flight's full. They're not going to kick me out for switching seats." A flight attendant approached. Young woman, name tag read Jessica. She had that strained smile that meant she'd already dealt with 10 problems that morning. "Is everything okay here?" she asked. The man in my seat spoke first. "This gentleman is upset that I'm sitting by the window. I tried to explain that I need it for work, but he's being difficult." Jessica looked at me. I saw the calculation in her eyes. She wanted this resolved quickly, quietly. "Sir," she said to me gently, "if you wouldn't mind taking seat 14B, we can get everyone settled and—" "I paid for 14A, I said. "He's in my seat." The man snorted. "Seriously, you're really going to hold up the whole flight over this?" Other passengers were watching now, some annoyed, some curious, all wanting us to just sit down so the plane could leave. Jessica's smile grew tighter. "Sir, I understand, but in the interest of time." "Check his ticket," I said simply. She hesitated, then asked the man, "May I see your boarding pass, sir?" He rolled his eyes but pulled out his phone, showed her his mobile ticket. She studied it for a moment. "You're assigned to 14B, sir, the middle seat." "So what?" he shot back. "He can take it. What's the difference?" "The difference," Jessica said carefully, "is that seats are assigned, if he paid for the window." "This is ridiculous," the man interrupted. He looked at me with pure contempt. "You really are that petty, that stubborn, over a stupid seat?" I said nothing. Just looked at him. He must have seen something in my eyes because his expression shifted slightly, but not enough to back down. "Fine," he spat. "I'll remember this. I fly this airline constantly. I've got status. I know people. This kind of customer service, unacceptable." He snatched his laptop, shoved it into his bag with angry movements. Jessica stepped back to let him out. He stood, didn't look at me, threw himself into the middle seat with exaggerated frustration. I slid into 14A, the window seat I'd reserved. I buckled my seatbelt quietly. The man beside me radiated hostility. He sat with his elbows spread wide, invading my space on purpose. Petty revenge. I didn't react, just looked out the window at the tarmac. The plane filled up, more passengers shuffling in, more bags shoved into overhead bins. Finally, the door closed. The captain's voice came over the intercom. "Good afternoon, folks. This is Captain Reynolds. We've got clear skies today and should have you in Phoenix in about 2 hours. Sit back, relax, and thank you for flying with us." The man beside me muttered something under his breath. I ignored him. We taxied to the runway. The engines roared, the plane lifted. Dallas fell away below us. I watched the ground shrink. The highways became threads. The buildings became toys. Up here, everything looked small. Manageable. The man beside me pulled out his laptop again, started typing aggressively. His fingers hit the keys harder than necessary. Jessica came by with the beverage cart. "Anything to drink, sir?" she asked the man. "Scotch double." She poured it. He took it without thanks. She looked at me. "And for you, sir?" "Water's fine." She handed me a cup with a kind smile, the kind that said she dealt with people like my seatmate every day. The flight continued. I sipped my water slowly, looked out at the clouds. They stretched forever, white and endless. I thought about other flights, other seats, other times. 50 years ago, I'd sat in a very different kind of seat. Canvas webbing, metal frame, helicopter shaking with rotor noise. Vietnam, 1972. I was 23 years old, a door gunner with the 101st Airborne. We flew rescue missions, medevac runs, supply drops into hot zones. I'd seen things from those windows that still visited me at night. But I'd also seen courage, brotherhood, men who gave everything for strangers. I learned something in those years. Respect isn't about money or status or gold watches. It's about recognizing the humanity in everyone you meet. Treating people with basic dignity. The man beside me wouldn't understand that. Not yet, anyway. He was too wrapped up in his own importance. I'd met dozens like him over the years. Some learned, some never did. The flight attendant announcements droned on. Safety information, snack options. The man ordered another scotch. I kept looking out the window. An hour into the flight, I noticed him glancing at me. Quick looks, like he was trying to figure something out. Maybe he felt guilty. Maybe he was just bored. He finally spoke. "So what do you do?" he asked. His tone was different now, less hostile, more curious. I turned from the window. "I work in aviation," I said simply. He perked up slightly. "Yeah, what, like maintenance or something?" "Something like that." He nodded, took another sip of his scotch. "I'm in finance," he said. "Didn't ask if I wanted to know, just told me. Executive VP at a consulting firm. We handle major accounts, high-level stuff." "Sounds important," I said neutrally. "It is." He seemed pleased that I acknowledged it. "I'm flying out to close a deal, 7 figures, make or break moment. I hope it goes well." He studied me for a moment. "You really that upset about the seat thing?" he asked. I considered the question. "It wasn't about the seat," I said quietly. "Then what?" "Respect." He frowned. "I offered you the middle seat. That's not disrespectful. You took something that wasn't yours, then acted like I was the problem for asking for it back." He opened his mouth, closed it, looked away. "It's just a seat," he muttered. "It's never just a seat," I said. We didn't speak again for the rest of the flight. The plane began its descent into Phoenix. The ground rose up to meet us. Desert landscape, red rocks, the city sprawling in the afternoon sun. The wheels touched down, smooth landing. We taxied to the gate. The seatbelt sign chimed off. Everyone stood at once, the usual rush to grab bags and push toward the exit. The man in 14B pulled his carry-on from the overhead bin. He didn't look at me. I waited. Let the crowd thin out. Jessica appeared at the front of the cabin. She was talking to another flight attendant. They both glanced back toward me. Then Jessica started walking down the aisle. She stopped at my row. "Mr. Hartley," she said quietly. I nodded. "Captain Reynolds would like a word with you before you deplane, if you have a moment." "Of course." The man in 14B was still in the aisle, wrestling with his bag. He overheard. Looked back at me with confusion. Why would the captain want to talk to some old guy in a flannel shirt? I stood slowly. My knees weren't what they used to be. Followed Jessica toward the front of the plane. The cockpit door was open. Captain Reynolds stood there. Young man, probably early 40s, good uniform, confident posture. He saw me and his face broke into a genuine smile. "Mr. Hartley," he said warmly. He extended his hand. I shook it. "Jim," I corrected gently. "Jim," he repeated. "I wanted to thank you personally for flying with us today, and to apologize if there were any issues during boarding." "No apology necessary, Captain." He glanced past me at the remaining passengers filing off. "Jessica mentioned there was a situation with your seat. It was handled." He nodded slowly, then lowered his voice. "Sir, if you'd like, I can have that passenger spoken to. What he did wasn't." "It's fine," I said, "really." Captain Reynolds studied my face. "You're too kind, sir," he said quietly. I smiled slightly. "We all have bad days, Captain. He'll figure it out eventually." Reynolds nodded with respect. "Safe travels, sir." I thanked him and stepped off the plane. The jetway was nearly empty now, just a few stragglers ahead of me. I walked slowly. My leg always stiffened up on flights. Old injury from the war, shrapnel in my left thigh, 40 years healed but never quite forgotten. I reached the gate area. The man from 14B was there, standing near the windows, phone pressed to his ear, talking loudly about his deal, his presentation, his importance. He saw me emerge from the jetway. His expression flickered, confusion mixed with something else. I walked past him toward the main terminal. Behind me, I heard him say into his phone, "Hold on a second." Footsteps hurried up behind me. "Hey," he called out, "wait." I stopped, turned. He approached with his phone lowered. His expression was different now. The arrogance had cracked. "Why did the captain want to talk to you?" he asked. "Just saying hello," I said. "Pilots don't come out to say hello to random passengers." I shrugged. "Sometimes they do." He stared at me, really looked at me for the first time. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. "Nobody important," I said. "Just a guy who works in aviation." I started walking again. He didn't follow this time. I made my way through the Phoenix terminal, past the shops and restaurants, past the crowds of travelers. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, text message from my assistant. Board meeting moved to 4 p.m. Conference room ready, financial reports uploaded. I typed back, "Thank you, I'll be there." I found the executive elevator near gate A7, tucked away from public view, easy to miss if you didn't know where to look. I pressed my thumb to the scanner. The doors opened immediately. I stepped inside. The elevator descended below the terminal level, down to the operations center. The doors opened onto a long hallway, corporate offices, security operations, flight coordination. A few employees passed by, Some nodded in greeting, some smiled. "Good afternoon, Mr. Hartley." "Welcome back, sir." I returned their greetings quietly. Reached the end of the hallway, double doors made of frosted glass. The nameplate beside them read, James Hartley, founder and CEO asterisk. Hartley, Airline ES. I pushed through the doors into my office suite. My assistant, Margaret, looked up from her desk. She'd been with me for 15 years. Gray hair pulled back neatly, reading glasses on a chain around her neck. "How was Dallas?" she asked. "Uneventful," I said. She smiled knowingly. "That's what you always say." "It's usually true." The board is assembling now. Jackson wants to discuss the Phoenix expansion. Sarah has projections for the new routes. "Good, give me 10 minutes. I walked into my private office. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the runways. I could see planes taking off and landing. The whole operation spread out before me. Hartley Airlines. I'd started it 35 years ago with 2 used planes and a dream. Now we operated over 200 aircraft, flew to 60 cities across the country, employed 12,000 people. But I still flew commercial sometimes. Coach seats, middle rows, regular tickets under my name without title or fanfare. I needed to see what our passengers experienced. Needed to remember why I started this company in the first place. After Vietnam, I came home broken, angry, lost. I took a job at a small regional airline, maintenance crew, changing tires and checking engines. I watched how passengers were treated, saw the contempt some staff showed toward regular people, the way airlines nickeled and dimed everyone, the way human dignity got lost in the pursuit of profit. I promised myself that if I ever had the chance, I'd build something different. Something better. It took years, bank loans, sleepless nights, risking everything I had. But slowly it grew. And I never forgot where it came from. Never forgot that every passenger deserved respect. From the businessman in first class to the grandmother flying to see her grandchildren. Every single person mattered. I changed into a suit, kept one in the office closet for meetings. Straightened my tie in the mirror. The old man in flannel was gone. The CEO emerged. But underneath, I was still the same person. Still the door gunner who learned about humanity at 20,000 feet. I walked to the conference room. The board was waiting, 10 men and women, smart people, dedicated people. We discussed expansion plans, new routes, fleet upgrades, customer satisfaction scores. The meeting lasted 2 hours. Afterward, Jackson, our COO, lingered behind. "Jim, we had an incident today on Flight 447 from Dallas." I looked up from gathering my papers. "What kind of incident?" "Passenger complaint." "Well, sort of." He pulled out his tablet. "Guy called our customer service line, very agitated, said he wants to speak to someone in senior management." "About what?" "He claims he was treated unfairly by staff. Says a passenger was given preferential treatment. He's threatening to take his business elsewhere." "Did he say which passenger?" Jackson checked his notes. "Just described him as some old guy in a flannel shirt." He looked up. "Doesn't mention any names. But Jim, he was in seat 14B. You were on that flight, weren't you?" I nodded slowly. Jackson sighed. "What happened?" I told him the whole story, my seat, his attitude, the resolution. Jackson listened without interrupting. When I finished, he rubbed his face. "He has no idea who you are," Jackson said. "No. Do you want me to tell him?" I considered it. "What's his name?" "Brad Kellerman. He flies with us frequently. Gold status member." "What does he want?" "An apology. Compensation. And he specifically mentioned that he wants the employee who sided with the other passenger to be disciplined." "He means Jessica." I assume so. I walked to the window, watched a 737 push back from the gate. Set up a meeting, I said quietly. With him? Yes. Jim, you don't need to. Set it up, Jackson, tomorrow morning if possible, here in Phoenix. Jackson hesitated, then nodded. I'll make it happen. The next morning, I arrived at the office early. Margaret had coffee waiting, black, no sugar. Mr. Kellerman will be here at 9, she said. Thank you. I sat at my desk, reviewed his file. Brad Kellerman, age 36, investment consultant, flew with us twice a month on average, good payment history, several complaints filed over the past year, minor things, seat assignments, drink service, baggage delays. Always demanding, always threatening to switch airlines. But he kept flying with us. 9 o'clock came. Margaret buzzed me. Mr. Kellerman is here. Send him in. The door opened. Brad Kellerman walked in wearing another expensive suit, different tie, same gold watch. He entered with the confidence of someone used to getting their way. Then he saw me. Behind the desk. In my office. His steps faltered. Recognition hit him like a wave. The old man from seat 14A. His face went through several expressions at once: confusion, shock, horror. Please sit down, I said calmly. He stood frozen. Mr. Kellerman, I repeated gently, have a seat. He moved like a man walking to his execution, sank into the chair across from my desk. I let the silence stretch for a moment. I understand you had concerns about your flight yesterday, I said. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. You felt you were treated unfairly. His face had gone pale. I didn't. You called our customer service line, said you wanted to speak with senior management. Well, here I am. He stared at the desk, at his hands, anywhere but at me. Mr. Kellerman, I want you to understand something. I kept my voice even, not angry, just firm. Every passenger who flies with this airline matters, from the person in first class to the person in the last row. They all deserve respect. They all deserve dignity. He nodded slightly, miserably. When you took my seat yesterday, that wasn't just about the seat. It was about your assumption that your needs mattered more than mine, that your work, your time, your comfort was more important. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm not the one you need to apologize to. He looked up. What? Jessica, the flight attendant. You demanded that she be disciplined for doing her job, for treating a passenger with fairness. His face flushed red, shame finally. You also need to apologize to yourself, I continued, because you're better than how you acted yesterday. I've seen your file, you're successful, educated, but somewhere along the way you forgot something important. What? He asked quietly. That respect isn't about status. It's about recognizing the humanity in everyone you meet. Silence filled the office. I learned that a long time ago, I said. In Vietnam, in a helicopter flying over jungles. When you're in that situation, nobody cares about your job title or your bank account. They care about whether you're going to help pull them out when everything goes to hell. I leaned back in my chair. I started this airline because I wanted to build something that treated people right. All people. That's not just company policy. That's personal to me. Brad Kellerman sat there with his head bowed. Am I banned from flying with you? He asked. No. He looked up surprised. Everyone deserves a second chance, I said. But I want you to think about something. Every time you fly with us, every time you interact with our staff or fellow passengers, you have a choice. You can treat people with respect or you can make their lives harder. I stood up, walked around the desk. The world's hard enough, Mr. Kellerman. We don't need to make it harder for each other. He stood too, extended his hand awkwardly. I shook it. Thank you, he said, his voice cracked slightly. For not embarrassing me worse than I already embarrassed myself. We all stumble, I said. What matters is whether we learn. He nodded, started toward the door, then stopped. Mr. Hartley, that seat yesterday, you really didn't have to. I mean, you could have just told me who you were. If I'd done that, you wouldn't have learned anything. He thought about that, then nodded slowly. I'll call Jessica, he said. Apologize properly. I think she'd appreciate that. He left. Margaret appeared a moment later. How did it go? She asked. He'll be fine. You're too kind, Jim. I smiled. Someone was kind to me once, long time ago. She tilted her head. Story time. I walked back to the window, looked out at the plains. When I came back from Vietnam, I was angry, bitter, felt like the world owed me something. I took a job at that regional airline, did my work but had a chip on my shoulder. Margaret listened quietly. One day I mouthed off to a passenger. Guy asked me a question and I gave him attitude. My supervisor pulled me aside. I thought I was getting fired. I paused, remembering. But he didn't fire me. He sat me down and talked to me, really talked, asked about my service, my injuries, my anger, and then he said something I never forgot. What? Margaret asked. He said, you survived the war. Don't let bitterness kill who you were meant to become. I turned from the window. He gave me a second chance, taught me that leadership isn't about power. It's about helping people become better versions of themselves. Is that why you do this? Margaret gestured around the office. All of it. Part of it, I said. The other part is simpler. I just want people to get where they're going safely, treated with decency. That's all. She smiled. You're a good man, Jim Hartley. I'm just a guy who works in aviation, I said. That afternoon, I flew back to Dallas. Coach, middle seat this time. The flight was full. Young mother sat to my left with a fussy toddler, college kid to my right with headphones on. The kid eventually noticed me looking at his textbook. Aerospace engineering, he said, pulling out an earbud. Good field, I said. I hope so. Job market's tough, though. It is, but good people always find their way. He nodded, uncertain. You flying home? I asked. Yeah, spring break, you. Going home, too. We talked for a while about his studies, his dreams, his worries about the future. I gave him my card before we landed. If you're serious about aviation, send me your resume. No promises, but we're always looking for good engineers. His eyes went wide when he read the card. You're the CEO. Just a guy who works in aviation, I said again. He laughed, couldn't quite believe it. Thank you, sir, really, thank you. Thank me by being excellent at your job, whatever you end up doing. The plane landed. We said goodbye at baggage claim. I drove home to my small house outside the city. Same house I'd lived in for 20 years, 3 bedrooms, quiet neighborhood. People always asked why I didn't have a mansion. I didn't need one. Didn't need much, really. I'd learned a long time ago that the important things in life weren't things at all. That evening, I sat on my back porch with a glass of water. Watched the sun set over the Texas horizon. Thought about all the years, all the flights, all the people. Brad Kellerman would probably be okay. He'd learned something. Maybe it would stick, maybe it wouldn't. But I'd given him the chance. That was all any of us could do. Give people chances. Treat them with dignity. Remember that we're all just trying to get through life as best we can. My phone buzzed. Email from Jessica, the flight attendant. Mr. Hartley, I received an apology call today from the passenger in 14B. He was very sincere. Thank you for whatever you said to him. It meant a lot. I smiled. Typed back, "You did your job with grace and professionalism. That's what mattered. Thank you for representing us well." The sun dipped below the horizon. Stars began appearing in the darkening sky. I thought about those old helicopter flights over Vietnam. How small everything looked from above. How fragile. How precious. Every person down there had a story, a life, dreams and fears and hopes. We all shared the same sky, the same journey from one place to another. All we had to do was treat each other with kindness along the way. That wasn't just good business. It was the only way to live. I finished my water, stood slowly. Tomorrow there would be more flights, more meetings, more challenges. But tonight, I was just an old veteran sitting on his porch. Grateful for the quiet. Grateful for the journey. Grateful that I'd learned all those years ago what really mattered. Respect, dignity, humanity. Everything else was just details. I walked inside, turned off the lights, and somewhere above, planes continued crossing the night sky, carrying people home, carrying them forward, each one a small miracle of trust and hope. And that was exactly how it should be. And